This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, nearly 44 million adults experience mental illness in a given year, and 1 in 5 children ages 13 through 18 have or will have a serious mental illness. May is Mental Health Month and an opportunity to learn more about this medical condition. Here's more.
The only thing crazy about mental illness is the way we talk about it. Stop the crazy talk.
And joining me now to tell us more about mental illness is Marcy White. She's the Executive Director of Mental Health America of the Triangle, and Tish Hussey. She is the Executive Director of Freedom House Recovery Center. Thank you both so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It is.
What a powerful video addressing mental illness, and it really speaks to the stigma that surrounds this actual medical condition. Talk a little bit first about mental illness and what exactly it is.
Well, it's not one thing. It is many things along a spectrum. And I think as the video was so good at pointing out, is that we use language and we talk about it in ways that have exacerbated the stigma that people feel. And they are not always willing to speak up about it or to say that they have a problem. But a mental illness can be anything from an anxiety, where someone experiences a lot of anxiety or depression, or some more severe diagnoses such as bipolar or even schizophrenia or psychotic disorders. Those can also exist alongside a substance use disorder. So it can be very, very complicated, and yet what we know is that recovery is possible. Getting better and living well with mental health conditions really is possible with the right kind of help, but it begins with our talking about it, giving power to our voice to speak about our experiences, and that's one of the reasons why it's so good to have a time to talk about mental health awareness, try to destigmatize it for folks.
Absolutely, and it is important to have those conversations, to talk about it.
Right. Freedom House has, I think we served close to 14,000 people last year. It was interesting because we had on either ends of that spectrum of people, we had people that came to us with only a diagnosis of a mental illness of some sort, and another whole group that were there because they had a substance use disorder alone. But in the middle, there was this overlap of people, so many people that had both a mental illness that they were dealing with, and they were struggling with a substance use disorder at the same time. I know that what we see in a clinical sense is how we can match people to a clinical person that can work with them, or to a program, to whatever means we have that addresses and really speaks to them, so that they can get the help that they need to stabilize and to find a way to live their lives fully and wholly. And we know it can be done because we've watched it. I've been watching it, I think, now for 23 years. Marcy's watched it for longer. We see so many successes, and it's really amazing to sit on the sidelines and see people do that work.
And when you mentioned about the numbers of people who have a mental health diagnosis, and I think here in North Carolina, there's probably close to 1.5 million people who have a mental health diagnosis or substance use disorder. And one of the things to me that is so daunting is that once individuals, there's some recognition that they have a mental health diagnosis, on average, people wait 10 years before seeking help or treatment. And if you think about what that means with regard to relationships, with regard to their jobs, with regard to education, there's so many things that they lose out on, and are not able to live to their potential because oftentimes they've been too overwhelmed or afraid to speak up about it. And there just is so much that we can do in the way of services, and that we want to make sure that people feel comfortable in talking about and seeking that help, which is a lot of what we do at Mental Health America of the Triangle, are those individuals who don't have any idea where to go or what to do in terms of seeking help. They will call us because they're kind of lost about where do I get help and where do I get supports and services.
I think it's important for our viewers to understand maybe some of the signs and symptoms of mental illness. And I know that you were talking about it's not just one illness, but several. But I think, sometimes people don't even understand themselves what's going on or with the loved one. So if you can kind of talk a little bit about some of those signs that parents and adults need to be aware of.
I think some of the things that it's important to look for is when there has been change. So that whether it's with a child or whether an adult, if they begin to be more withdrawn or they stop doing things that have brought them joy before, they begin to withdraw. Perhaps they are having trouble sleeping, or they're sleeping too much, or they are eating too much or not eating. They perhaps may start experiencing short temper or may seem to react uncharacteristically scared or nervous. And oftentimes they are just struggling to try to mask the symptoms that they feel around something like depression or anxiety. Now, with individuals who perhaps have a more serious diagnosis, such as one of the things we call bipolar illness or even some of the psychotic episodes, they may be experiencing some very extreme changes in their behavior, the way they think. They may hear voices, they may see things that are not there, and that is part of their reality. And then when friends or family are nearby, they don't understand why they don't see it the same way. So it can be a whole range of things.
And what we see are people that are isolating because they don't understand what their condition is, or they're hiding it because they really can't name it. They can't help other people around them that are close to them really understand what's going on for them. So again, they isolate and hide. And as Marcy said, sometimes it takes so long for people to be willing to step out and actually ask for the help that they need.
And typically, if you are a diabetic or if you have hypertension,
Absolutely.
you wouldn't wait 10 years to get that addressed. So it is important to start, for people to understand that it is a medical condition and nothing that anyone should be ashamed of.
No, and yet there are so many things that can support wellness and recovery from a mental health condition that include your family, your friends, your support, exercise, activities that you enjoy. That becomes as much a part of your recovery or of an individual's recovery as therapeutic or treatment or therapy or even in some more intensive programs. So it's real important to think about it as a way that I'm going to help myself get well, much as a diabetic does or someone with high blood pressure. They have a whole range of things that they need to do.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute. We'll be back with more on mental health after these messages. May is Mental Health Month, so today we are taking a closer look at mental illness here in our state. With us again is Marcy White, Executive Director of Mental Health America of the Triangle, and Trish Huzzy, who is the Executive Director of Freedom House Recovery Center. Now, I know that both of your organizations kind of work together to provide a comprehensive level of care for families dealing with mental illness. Talk a little bit about each of your programs and then how you work together to do that.
We are a relatively small nonprofit, but we have been around in the Chapel Hill and now Durham community since 1966. And the services and supports that we provide are really what I refer to as kind of gap services. We fill in the gaps with services and supports that are not typically available in the public service system. For example, for parents who have children who have mental health needs, we have family parent advocates who themselves have raised children with mental health needs, and they are able to be guides, navigators, advocates to teach and coach and advocate with parents to help their kids get the services and supports that they need. We also are able to provide some free counseling services through a network of over 130 volunteer licensed therapists in our communities who agree to give their time to individuals that we screen and refer to them who do not have insurance, who are not eligible for Medicaid, and these therapists are willing to give their time for 8 free sessions, which oftentimes is enough to kind of get people understanding what's going on. We are not able to serve individuals who have more serious mental health needs, and that's where we partner so much with Freedom House, because if there are individuals that call us who are seeking mental health services and we recognize that their needs are more serious, of longer term nature, then Freedom House is one of the primary organizations and agencies that we refer individuals to. And then one other service that we do that is so important for individuals who have a very severe mental illness, such as schizophrenia or bipolar, one of the things that happens is even if they are getting treatment and support, they often are very isolated, do not have friends. And we have a program called Compeer, which matches individual volunteers with those individuals that are stable with regard to their mental health needs, and we match them to become friends, not another mental health professional. And many of our matches, those individuals have been matched for 8, 10, and 12 years. So we know that the power of friendship and these kind of everyday relationships are so much a part of recovery. But as I said, a lot of the folks with more serious mental illness and issues are the kinds of folks that we work with Freedom House to serve.
Thank you. Freedom House has been around since 1973, so for 42 years, if my math is correct. We started out as a pretty small agency, and we were providing detox and stabilization in a crisis unit, and we also had a women's halfway house. And so when I came to Freedom House, that's all that was there. We have a 5-acre campus that's in Chapel Hill. And we started growing, and I would have to say that our growth has been a pattern of looking at the community, listening to what people need in our community, and then developing the programs that would serve them. Many of our people that we serve at one end of the spectrum they can be homeless, they may be jobless, they have nowhere to go for services. We serve those same people in all of our programs, and we have people that have health insurance and can find good services in many places, but come to our outpatient treatment centers. Our youngest client right now is 3 years old. Our oldest is close to 90. So we have people of all ages, children, adolescents, adults. We have 4 large outpatient clinics. One's out in Person County in Roxborough. One is in Orange County in Chapel Hill. We have a small clinic in Chatham County. And we even have a tiny little clinic up in Warren County, which is such a rural county up near the border, out in Caswell. So we're really serving people from many counties in the state. We have women's and men's halfway houses for people who have had a pattern of use and perhaps mental illness as well. It's such a disease of loss. And they've lost everything. They may have lost their jobs, their housing, their families, their children, and they really need a place to come and recover and have the support that they need. So we have halfway houses in several different locations. We have one of the largest crisis units that takes people with a primary diagnosis of whatever the mental illness might be, or people that are there for addiction support.
How can people find out more information and connect with you? I think because you've laid out all the wonderful services that you provide, how can people connect with you?
We have a great website that gives full contact information about where to call or email to get services, and it's Freedom House Recovery, www.freedomhouserecovery.org, and I think you had it on your screen.
Absolutely.
People can call the main number that you've posted
That's
at 919-942-2803, and we will guide them to whatever service is closest to them and listen to them. We also do open access and walk-in services because people in crisis don't need to hear that we can see you in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Exactly.
They really
Which
need
is
to be
often
seen.
what people will hear if
That's
they're
what they will
calling,
hear.
I'm trying to get an appointment.
Right. So we have certain times of each day that are posted on our website in different clinics where they can come, just walk in. They may have to wait a half an hour or 45 minutes on a busy day, but they will be seen. We have psychiatrists that work for us. We have licensed clinicians, and we have wonderful peer support people that are there with their own experience and their lived experience that have been so amazing in working with the folks that we serve. So.
Okay.
And you're also doing, you have a doctor, because you're now doing more of the
that's
integrated,
right.
which is very, very
Good
important.
point. Yes, we had so many people coming to us that didn't have a primary health provider, and because of their lifestyle, whether they were dealing with a chronic mental illness where they're taking second-generation medications for a long period of time, or whether they're living out on the street and using whatever their drug of choice or alcohol would be, they need health benefits. I mean, they need some care there. So we got a great grant from Kate B. Reynolds Healthcare Trust, and we have an integrated care clinic. So you don't have to go and sit at the emergency department for 10 hours
Which is important. Absolutely.
to get an antibiotic. So it's great.
Marcy, quickly tell us how people can find out more information and connect with you.
We
your
too have
organization.
a website, and that I think you put that information up, and our phone number there in Durham is 942-8083, and they can reach us there, and we will talk with them and guide them through.
All right. And the web address is
MHAtriangle.org.
Excellent. Marcy White, Executive Director of Mental Health America of the Triangle. Thank you so much for
You're
being
so
with
welcome.
us.
Thank
Trish,
you.
we're going to talk more with you in just a minute. We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. May is Mental Health Month, and today we're taking a closer look at the illness, the medical condition here in our state. And with us again is Trish Huzzy. She is the director of Freedom House Recovery Center, and also joining us is Troy Mans, who is a substance abuse counselor there and also has a personal connection with the center. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Troy, tell us a little bit about your initial experience with the Recovery House Center.
Well, my name is Troy Mans, and I'm a person who is in long-term recovery. That means that I haven't found a reason to pick up a drink or a drug in going on 16 years. And how I got connected with Freedom House is I was in a little small town called Eden, North Carolina, Rockingham County. Ended up getting in treatment, and when I got to treatment, I heard about a halfway house, and I had no clue what a halfway house was. And they told me about Freedom House Recovery Center, and that's how I ended up at Freedom House. I didn't have anywhere else to go at that time. You know, family was pretty much through with me because of my addiction to crack cocaine and the behaviors that I had developed over a period of time of using drugs. And so that's how I ended up at Freedom House. Got there. I was jobless, homeless, penniless, and this place gave me an opportunity to get on my feet. At that time, it was a 6-month program. And experienced my first job working there. Actually, when I got to Chapel Hill, it was my first time ever riding a bus, public transportation. So it was amazing. And I think the thing that drives me to stay with Freedom House was the relationship with the counselors there, how they had a personal story themselves and the love that was shown there. Because when I did get there, you know, I felt very low about myself. Didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going. And Freedom House offered that foundation for me to start my life all over again. And after being in recovery for about 18 months, this lady here gave me a job, man, and I've been working with Freedom House, and I've worked with another organization that we're partnered with, Oxford Houses of North Carolina. Came back with Freedom House, and I've been here the whole time, and it's been a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Having walked the path that you're now helping others to navigate has to be an amazing feeling, and to know that you're not just talking to them, you actually know how they're feeling and can relate to what they're going through.
Yeah. The empathy is amazing to have for the people that I work with, because when I look at them, I see myself a lot of times, you know. And I remember when I was at that place when I thought nobody understood, or I thought nobody cared, but just having that ability to be there for them and to give them that helping hand in this time of need is so amazing. Not only is it amazing for helping them, but it also helps me, because part of my process is that I can't keep what I have unless I give it away. And so that's what I get to do every day, and the cool thing about it is I get paid for it.
That's extra,
Yeah, so it's so amazing. And we deal with counties that, you know, there's not a lot of resources, and I'm able to work through a program we all have called TACS, which is Treatment for Effective Community Supervision, where we work in Caswell County, in counties that really do not have a lot of resources, and we get to work with individuals who would have not had any other way of getting help if we wasn't there, and I really love that. Yeah.
And Trish, I think it's important as we're talking about mental health awareness for our viewers and for the public to understand that addiction is a disease.
Absolutely, just like diabetes or any other disease. A lot of people think it's a it is a behavioral thing, but I mean they think it's often it's kind of misdefined, if you will, as kind of an errant decision that people make, and you might make that decision to pick up a drug and use it, or alcohol and use it, but it's often that either one of those substances has a completely different effect on one individual that it won't have on another, and it leads to a path of sometimes years before people get the help that they need.
Yes.
Troy, as we talk about addiction and mental illness throughout the month of May, and really something we should talk about all year long, what is the message that you want to leave our viewers with to help understand what you and other people who are suffering with mental illness or addiction have gone through?
We're human beings, first of all, and when you see somebody suffering, always remember that's somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's grandson. I think the stigma is those people, when this disease, this mental illness does not discriminate against money, color, race, sex. It does not discriminate, and it can happen to anybody. And we're not asking you to understand, we're asking you to have empathy and to be able to be supportive of people, because sometimes we are afraid of what we don't understand, and that's okay. It's okay. But we're dealing with human beings and lives. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Trish, how can people find out more information about Freedom House Recovery Center?
I think that you've posted our phone number and our website, and you can get in touch with us in either way. I encourage people to call the 919-942-2803 number and ask for what they need.
Okay, and they can log on to freedomhouserecovery.org and find out more about your services that you provide.
Right.
Also, they can contact Mental Health America of the Triangle, and that number is 919-942-8083, or they can log on to the website mhatriangle.org. Yes. Certainly a wealth of resources available to help those living with mental illness. We thank you both for taking the time. Troy, for you to share your personal story and the work that you're doing to help others on their road to recovery. And Trish, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Sonia.
All right. That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, send us a message on our Facebook page or an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.